Hey, we're live. I'm Damien with my good buddy George, and welcome to the Killer Be Killed podcast. So, a lot going on. I guess we should kind of, talk about what's going on over there in Russia.
I think so.
It's interesting. I think what um, people are maybe starting to realize is that, um, you know, Russia is somewhat, they're dangerous, but they're a paper tiger. And this is like make or break for Putin.
Yes.
People don't forget, or people don't remember, I should say, that the Russian military has been parted out for like the last like 30, 40 years. Like they're selling subs, they're selling equipment, while you'll see parades um, with with military and soldiers and crap like that. Like they'll pick like the top like 20, 30,000 soldiers who can kick ass and take names. But a lot of these guys that are going to fight are like in their mid 40s. They're pulling off the couch, giving them a gun and a uniform, and they're like, here,
Yep.
go. Right. So they're an invading force. They're really not into it. Um, and again, this is just me, taking a bird's eye view of this thing and watching. I mean, did you see the video of the guy, the Ukrainian guy in his car, and he's going past a column of Russian troops, and they ran out of gas going to Kiev?
No, I didn't see that.
Right. So, I mean, totally baller. The guy just kind of pulls up, they break each other's balls, and then he just drives away. Right. It's not like, and those guys are stuck there. Oh, Tom's here. He's checking in. Hey, Tom, good to see you today. And so, so anyway, um, yeah, they were Putin. I think they were planning on them just kind of rolling over. And I believe I've heard rumors that most of the soldiers were looked at like they're a liberating force, and they
Mhm.
were going in there to like free the people, and everyone's going to be excited to see them.
Yeah,
You
not quite.
know, now the one thing that's eerily silent in American media is that all the citizens are arming themselves with body armor and assault rifles. Right? I'm like, no shit.
Yeah,
This is why we have a Second Amendment, and this is why I've got a right to bear arms because of this. And people are like, well, that's the Ukraine. Yeah, exactly. That's the Ukraine. And imagine going down a street in America where 100 million people are armed with multiple weapons. Um, and you're in a column and you're going to fight other soldiers, but then every you know 10 or 15 home is like taking sniper shots at you. There's people in the woods that are just, how do you handle that? You can't. And you're away from home. You're not, this, ganked up. The soldiers are still human beings, right? They're still on that relationship level. They've got like family on both sides, and in both countries, and they're you know, uh, they're not going down there to actually kill somebody, even if you're a trained soldier, isn't as easy as you think.
of course.
So, that being said, first, again, I want to thank everybody for taking the time to listen. Much appreciated. If you're listening to the recording, again, thank you very much. Please like, share, comment. We'll respond to your comments as they come in. We'll drag you into the show and have a good time with it.
For sure.
So anyway, shout out to my good buddy Steve. He's an old friend, a guy I used to coach. He started listening to the podcast and he was texting me yesterday. My birthday, yay! It's my birthday week.
Yes.
Yes, thank you, and thank you everybody for the birthday wishes. Again, much appreciated. And we just like getting on here talking some shit. About self defense and personal safety related topics. And by the way, if you have anything to promote, feel free to reach out to us. We'll have you on. Reach out to customer service at theselfdefenseco.com. You can get it off any of the websites, and that'll wind up filtering through to George,
Yep.
and we'll put something together and have you on. And yeah, exactly. There's no telling. Mike, good friend Mike Gray chimes in. He's like, yeah, there's no telling, the soldier mindset. and what they're indoctrinated with, before they're sent out, right? Yeah, so they're fed their line to get them off their asses and get them motivated to go to war.
Yep.
Right. And, again, when they're looking at this as a liberating force, it's a different thing. You're going there, you're expecting, flowers and, people, cheering you. It's a different thing when you're going in as an invading force. So,
did you see the video of that old Ukrainian woman that was spitting sunflower seeds on one of the Russian soldiers? That woman is badass.
A set of stones on her. But again, you look at it, and then as a soldier, like, what do I do? And this looks like my aunt.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, there's a lot of weirdness going on that happens. And especially if you're, like, not active. If you're pulling dudes off the couch, this is, I think this is going to be over before it starts. I don't think it's going to be a prolonged thing. And then people also forget the history that Russia and the Ukraine have as being a part of the Soviet Union. I mean, 2014, 2019, the same crap was going on again before. I mean, Russia is very important for them for their, they need a warm weather port. It gives them access to the Black Sea, the Mediterranean Sea. So, it's, they need it. And, with the threat of NATO coming in, they, it gets them, their Russia's butthole puckered. And Mike adds that, allegedly someone before me out was there. I heard this too, that it was a training mission.
Yes.
Yeah. And it wasn't real. And now it's freaking real.
Yeah. So,
and then I've heard also arguments, between COVID and Putin isolating himself, that he doesn't have a grip on, the reality of the situation. I mean, who knows what happens? I mean, everybody, obviously, governments and people alike operate in their own self-interest. So, again, if, he fails, they're pretty much done.
Yeah.
Pretty much done. And the other thing you should note, China, I don't know what's going on present day, but 3 months ago, we've got factories over there. They were handling rolling blackouts because there's an issue with coal that they purchased from Australia that was getting when they're jacking the prices up on them too, they were limiting the supply. So factories were literally shutting down for half weeks. So they're only working 3 days. And between that and COVID, I mean, they don't have unlimited resources. I mean, they're in a tenuous spot. And even though they've signed a friendly agreement with Russia, I'm not expecting them to, even get involved in any of this stuff. They got their own problems. They got their own self-interest. And, the West is the biggest market for these guys.
Yep.
So, yeah, have a lot of interesting stuff. One of the things, so I don't know if you saw this. Apparently, the World Taekwondo Federation has revoked Putin's honorary black belt.
Oh, Jesus. That'll show him.
Yeah, I'm like, and I get it. I guess it's like it's funny. It's like organizations that really are involved. I guess they, they want to distance themselves from them. But who the hell's thinking about the World Taekwondo Organization?
Yeah.
Right. So I guess it's an opportunity to, get themselves out there. And, he also, by the way, he is a legit black belt in judo. That is, they just suspended him as the, where the hell is it? In the article. Yeah, the announcement came in the heels of the International Judo Federation, the IJF, suspended his status as the federation's honorary president and ambassador. Wow. So, yeah, I'm like, this is, okay.
And I thought our liquor stores here pulling fucking Russian vodka off the shelves was nuts.
Yeah, it's freedom fries all over again.
Yeah.
Remember when France wouldn't get involved when we were attacking Iraq? Then they changed the name of French fries to freedom fries. It's like, whatever, man.
Jesus Christ.
What are we doing? That was, and yeah. So, it's like there's always those things like, yeah, like we're gonna, it's like we're getting involved in this some way. There's two things. One, obviously, you're like, okay, well, they don't want to be associated with this guy. Two is like, no one's paying attention to you anyway.
That's right.
And if somebody comes up to you like, oh, I'm not joining the World Taekwondo Federation or participating in any of its events because you gave him an honorary 9th degree black belt. I mean, who tracks this crap? Yeah. It's like man, I don't know. So, another, so, Steven Seagal is like,
is he still alive? Like, really?
He inserted himself in this shit, and I don't know how this guy. It's amazing. It's amazing. Like, I don't know how this dude. I'm pulling it up right here. How is he even relevant? But apparently he knows or has friends and family over there on both sides, and the post is like they're like quoting him. Like,
yeah.
He looks at them as both as one family. I'm like, who cares?
Putin pal Steven Seagal. There you go.
Yeah, I mean, he goes the martial arts angle, right? He goes over there because the Aikido stuff and our stuff. And again, he's like there he is. I mean, yeah, this guy's amazing. And by the way, his best body of work is Steven Seagal Lawman by far. Have you ever watched that?
I didn't. I tried to watch one episode and I was just, no.
Oh, come on, man. I mean, Tom Segura does an awesome bit on it. Where, you're sitting there and he's like literally showing up at jobs. You've seen it. So in case you don't know, we got Steven Seagal, who was deputized in Louisiana. And every once in a while, he would go down there and, ride along with these guys and actually go on, arrests and calls. So
yeah, I think the show lasted, what, a couple seasons?
Yeah, man. I go, it's honestly, it's comedy genius. Because you're getting there. Imagine you're a criminal and you're getting arrested or whatever's happening, and all of a sudden you look up and holy shit, that's Steven Seagal. Right? You got like legit. I mean, wrapping your head around that. But besides, like, obviously you're not having a good day.
Yeah.
Right. And all of a sudden you got to, holy fuck, Steven Seagal.
But this was like pre-diabetic fucking Steven Seagal, right? Like, I mean, now he's just
no. He looked like this. He looked like this. This is not above the law, Steven Seagal.
Okay.
This is like as he is now. And he was, again, it was just, I mean, he was appointed as a special envoy for humanitarian ties with the United States by Russian Foreign Ministry in 2018.
Wow.
Steven Seagal is facilitating relations between Russia and the United States in the humanitarian field.
Oh. Wow.
I'm sorry, my mind is melting. I'm like, I don't know what his other credentials are. I just know him as everybody else knows Steven Seagal, for cheesy movies and
Hard to kill.
Poor dialogue. Yes. You know what pissed me off about him the most? And I'll tell you this. So he goes to Japan and his family's stationed, his family's living there and he's stationed there. And he starts taking starts training Aikido, and he actually winds up, his first wife was his sensei's daughter.
Well, there you go.
So he marries her. That's a big deal, right? So, you're there, and from, martial artist standpoint, and, someone who obviously, believe it or not, believes in like Bushido and a code and honor and how you handle your life, especially with your your mentor and instructor and somebody who you've, spent years, training your craft with and learning, and him sharing his life and experience with you, and then shares his daughter with you, comes over to the United States, does Hard to Kill, hooks up with Kelly LeBrock, ditches his first wife, marries her. I get it, but come on, I'm like, yeah, this is, clearly, he's, buying into the whole Hollywood thing, while he's trading on his martial arts reputation and rank, where, to my point, is someone who really felt that way about their art and about their training wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
You'd resist temptation on some level to not screw over your sensei's daughter, right? So it's, if you want to be like a regular guy and a regular actor, but your shtick is Aikido, Bushido, Samurai, Code, and then, the first real nice looking person, that turns your head. I'm guessing. I'm sure there were plenty others, because he was hot back then. I mean, he'd make a movie every, 2 years, and my dumb ass went to it.
Yep.
But here he is, trading on that martial arts life, and then that's what you get. So
this is our humanitarian of the year right here.
Yes, he is the guy. He is the guy that, okay, we need somebody to, work with Russia on humanitarian culture and art. So who do we have? We've got a musician. We have a famous athlete. We have, somebody, and, that's Steven Seagal. That's our guy.
Yeah.
That's our go-to guy. Holy crap, man. Yeah. So, what was your famous, Steven Seagal? He like started like everybody doing the whole twisty wrist crap.
Yep. He definitely did.
And that's where people started to like, there was some guy who shall remain nameless, in New Jersey, came up with a martial art that he created. And I'm not going to name names or styles, but he had during this time, so he created a style. So Taekwondo is very popular, right?
Yep.
And he created, and so is Filipino martial arts. And finally, you got Steven Seagal in there. So this is like late 80s, mid to late 80s, early 90s. So you've got, you got Steven Seagal, you've got Taekwondo, and then you've got Filipino martial arts, which everybody started, messing around with. So he created a martial art that had its origins in the Philippines, had a Korean name, but did, wrist locks and what I would call like Aiki Jiu-Jitsu type stuff.
Okay.
So now the premise of this martial art and how he came to discover it was that there was a U.S. Army Special Forces major. Stop me if this sounds familiar, but he actually published a book with this story in it, who was in the Philippines on a training exercise, on training exercises, gets separated from his unit. He's in the jungle. He's lost. A major.
Of course.
He winds up, while he's lost, he saves a village elder, quote unquote. So basically, this guy's wandering out in the jungle, and he comes across a guy, this old guy in trouble, and he saves his life.
Okay.
So they take him in. I'm assuming this is like some isolated tribe. They take him in, and they start to put him through feats of, challenges, right? Daily challenges of, strength, stamina, the test is worthiness. After a certain period of time, this guy he gets taught this ancient martial art that was originally brought over by Koreans for like, let's just call it 50 or 100 years. And, trained in this deadly lethal system that, after a certain time, he was given their blessings to teach.
Of course.
But while it's a Filipino martial art, it's still, and it was been there for, let's even say decades, not centuries, but it was put out like, it's been going on for like 100 years in the jungles of the Philippines. They still kept it a Korean name.
Mm-hmm.
So, it wasn't, they didn't put a Filipino name on it. And meanwhile, there's no connection to this art by that same name or anything close to it from Korea. He was the head of the World Organization of this, of which he was the only member.
Yep.
Right. And of course, nobody ever, because this major taught him. And then, of course, nobody ever met this guy. You can't look him up or Google him. Nothing ever existed. So, and while this may be, this may seem far-fetched, but this is the origin story, similar made-up bullshit of a lot of martial arts. A lot of martial arts. So, while you're sitting there, you really got to kind of look deep into, you need like real people to do this stuff. Like, okay, who'd you learn from? We can point to the guys that taught us where they learned it and where it came from, right? Real connections to real people. And what kind of gets me, going is like, while people look at what we teach, I put a training program together based on coaching and learning, on my experience. So it's a progressive building learning system. But the tactics and the techniques, I don't make this stuff up.
That's right.
It comes from someplace. It's not me sitting there, oh, well, I got my green belt or whatever. I got a black belt. Even if I had like multiple black belts and a couple things, for me to make one thing up that would be universal is very impossible. What attracted me to the World War II stuff was the research and the time and development that got put into it along the way. So, it started in Shanghai with the military police and Fairburn, who was a tough son of a bitch, would be on patrol. And Shanghai was a rough place. You got the triads that are running the ports. It's a port of call for basically every country on the planet. So, and they were the Shanghai Municipal Police was basically in charge of taking care of the foreigners. So if a foreigner got in trouble or there's an issue, whatever, they got brought in. So now they start, what happened was they, the people on the guys on patrol, it wasn't uncommon for these guys to wind up just beat the shit during their shift. So one night Fairburn got lumped up and then woke up in the hospital, and he's like, okay, I need to figure this out, because the most that he had was like bayonet training and whatever they were doing. They really didn't have any like close quarter stuff. So I love this story. He remembers like a little sign that he had on his beat was you saw, it was Professor Okada, Jiu-Jitsu bone setter.
Yes.
Freaking awesome. So he goes in there, starts training with Okada, and then that gets him into his foray into Japan. Then he starts training at the Kodokan and judo, gets a second-degree black belt there, and comes back, and he starts, he had access to all of the close guards of these, of Indian and Russian. And so all these emissaries are there with their bodyguards. So he starts, looking into this stuff. And then him and his team start piecing together a system of personal protection. And then they started like eliminating crap. And, because you want to eliminate the sport and the ceremony. And they did this over a number of years. And then you get guys like Anthony Edward Sykes, who is an arms dealer who came in and, became, attached to the military police. And not only did they do this, they did stuff for like riot control, SWAT. I mean, a lot of stuff that is still in use today. Then, of course, he builds a reputation as what's it called? Dirty Dan, I believe, and then he winds up, then they pull him in for World War II, and then you get guys like O'Neill. O'Neill is an interesting dude, 5th, 6th degree in judo. Trained and competed internationally. When people think of like, again, this is before Olympic judo, so again, all ground fighting, was part of it.
Yep,
part of it. People like, talk about, so anyway, I don't get on a judo tangent, but anyway, so, and that's when then you get guys like Applegate who comes in, he's from the US. That's someone Carl did actually meet and interview with. So, he implemented it and, so forth and so on. So, these guys that, think like, oh, I created the system. Like, oh, dude, I go, you're you. And a lot of people too, it's like, if with my grappling and wrestling background, I could have easily done something that was more skewed to what my personal skill set is, but it's not universal. So, what I liked about what they were doing is that one, it wasn't based on, hey, I'm going they started writing books later and doing other bullshit and including, like Fairbairn's Defender is like way too big. There's too much stuff in it. It's got a lot of the twisty wrist stuff in there too. But these guys want to sell books and make it. I mean, that's why I like Get Tough, because it's like freaking 4 techniques.
Yep.
And it came out later, and he's like, yeah, just do this, do this, do this, and and that's it. Because when they did this stuff, they just needed what worked, not like, hey, I want to sell books or I want to open a school, or sell videos. I'm like, no, we got guys getting their asses kicked, and we gotta train these dudes. And so, what's the best way to do it, and in the shortest amount of time? And yeah, so anyway, that's it with that. But I mean, I could go on and on and on and on and on. One thing that I want to talk about, you see what happened to this guy Cain Vasquez? He's an MMA fighter.
Yes.
Yeah, dude. So, at first, just share screen, and my heart goes out to this guy because, yeah, dude. I gotta tell you,
what was it? It was a family member that was assaulted, or
his daughter. His daughter. So I'm pulling up the article now. I just want to bring this people's attention if you don't know. So first you're like, okay, look at this guy. You're like, okay, another MMA asshole, shooting somebody, or, you always think the worst, right? And then it turns out that he was suspected of shooting a man on the highway, on Monterey Highway and Bailey Avenue. The victim suffered non-life-threatening non-life-threatening injuries. Last week, sheriff's deputy arrested 40-year-old Harry Eugene Gallardi at a San Martin daycare center. He's facing charges of lewd acts with a child,
but is currently out of jail. What the fuck?
On his own recognizance without any bond. Look, I'm all for due process, right? And yeah, but apparently, his father, both this guy and his father were in the car, and Velasquez was shot at on Monday. Gallardi's father is the one who was hit. Okay, so he meant to shoot. I don't know. I guess he meant to shoot Gallardi. So yeah. So I'm guessing from what I'm reading from this, he tried to shoot the guy, and he hit his dad.
Yep.
So, I mean, he's facing 15 to life for first-degree attempted murder. I'm like, yeah. I'm like, how, as a human being, not just a parent, how do you?
Exactly.
Yeah. I'm like, I don't. There's a lot of people that I know that wouldn't, be able to to stand by and, let this go on, especially if you get a guy. There's no such thing as swift justice, people, unless you bring it yourself. Okay, let's put it out there. So, this guy's out on bond, and, he's like, waiting for, and it's tricky. It's tricky to catch these dudes too. First, and this is why we like when we do the family safe program, we address these issues because, you're looking at, you've got kids who are, these, and I'm going to just take them off because I'm going to talk about, I don't want people to get confused with his image and what I'm going to talk about. So, you get these guys that run, they put themselves, these guys, I mean, predators that put themselves in position to have unfettered access to children and automatically in a position of authority. Coaches, teachers, clergy, doctors. I mean, they're, all forms. People can be weird. I mean, it's an anomaly, but they still obviously exist. So, you have these guys, and the one thing you'll learn about, child predators is that they get they're very good at staying under the radar, right? They're very good at, manipulating their targets and to getting them to, do things, quote unquote, voluntarily. And they're very methodical in how they test the waters and see if there's an opportunity for them to get what they want from their target. So, when you're, and it's, again, it's very, 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 very difficult to detect these people. And many people think that they will be able to, well, it's not going to happen to me. It's not going to, bullshit. Yeah. Bullshit. I mean, this is why, we give kids like very strict boundaries. And when someone, like, one, they shouldn't be alone with an adult ever. Two, they shouldn't put their hands on you ever. Three, they shouldn't be asking for your assistance, like directions ever. I mean, stranger danger is like less than 15% of the actual abductions.
Yes.
It's sexual assaults, like over 85%, somebody you know who operates in your world. Yeah. We just had to do it at the fire department, get pinched for child porn.
Jesus.
Yeah. And it was like, when you look at him, you're like, okay, he doesn't look, I mean, now I think pedophile, but, again, it's all being processed and things like that. But, then it's like, you look, you see he's got, where he's living is like adjacent to like a grammar school, I mean, shit like that. So, yeah, it's like, they're there.
Wow.
So my buddy Tom writes, I assume Kane just wanted to take the guy out, but a guy with his skills could have killed this piece of shit with his bare hands, which it should have been satisfying for him, and got him on a manslaughter charge. It's, Tom, you make up a great point. Someone like that probably could have just beat the fuck out of him.
Yep.
I mean, this is a professional fighter. Regardless, but yeah, he could have just destroyed it, and probably would have been a lot more satisfying, as Tom brings up. I don't, again, it's like, the firearm thing. Yeah, okay, right. You don't want to get your hands dirty. You don't want to. Maybe he was thinking he wasn't going to get caught. But you get there, and so Dave writes, there's evil people in all occupations. So what do you do with those people? Well, great point. And like we were saying before, it's like you got to set strict boundaries, especially for kids. Like I said, you never be alone with an adult, not even a closed door. You never let them get in your personal space. You always stay with, you're with the herd, with the group of kids. Yeah, and that's it. And once, again, because they can't get into what somebody says because they can be very, very, very convincing. But what they can, what kids can understand is go, no go, right? Go, no go. So I know that I'm not supposed to be in here with this person. And then that's when you tell them to communicate to you. And it's just a thing. It's a casual conversation that you have with your kids when you go out. Like, yeah, okay, Mr. So-and-so or Mrs. So-and-so or anybody, I'm like, you shouldn't be alone with them ever. So if they are. So yeah. So Tom's continuing about Kane. He's like, supposedly has a great reputation. Yeah, and guys, driven to that point. And again, I've never had to deal with this personally, so I can't even speak to the mindset. But
but just the fucking thought of it, just the thought, man.
Unbelievable, dude.
Yeah.
Awful. So again, tragic situation. Hit the dad. I don't know. Maybe the dad had it coming. I mean, I don't know. I mean, nobody died. Hopefully they'll take it. Hopefully he's got a good attorney, and some resources to take this out. To take this on and make sure that his life isn't completely destroyed. Because I mean, with these guys, especially if he's competing. 15 years is done. 5 years is done. I mean, his you got to look at these guys as like ripe fruit. You got a window. You got a window that will, that your time to make hay is very, very, very short. So, again, said we're, maybe, Tom's right. Maybe he gets a jury that finds him, not guilty and understanding, or gives him the minimum, considering that the guy wasn't killed. Hopefully they can, hopefully if he, does come out of this, there'll be other avenues for him to, earn a living.
Yeah.
Right. So, but yeah, I mean, really, really awful. Yeah. So as I said, I saw that. I just wanted to give a shout out there. Anyway, so okay, man. Let's get something. I gotta look at something funny.
Let's lighten the fucking mood here.
Yeah, please. Okay, well, I saw that we saw this one. Hold on. Sorry. I don't know why you're still on there. Okay. So, man, what do you got planned for this week?
Oh, you know what? Nothing. I'm living the fucking exciting life, aren't I?
That's all right. That's most people. Nothing.
It's interesting because we were talking about it a little bit before the call. Everything is back, like opening up here where I am up in Ontario, Canada. Almost all of our mandates, have been removed except for mask mandates. So now that shit's starting to get a little bit more normalized, I'm going to kind of test the waters, go out and see, what kind of assholes are out there. Because I'm just curious now.
Right.
Just curious to see what the hell's going on. Right. Go out to one of the local pubs and just have a drink and sit back and just watch the fucking show.
Right. Right. I mean, it's like, people, whatever happened. I mean, I'm not following this in the news with the truckers.
Oh, that was just a complete fucking disaster, as right? Like the emergency orders were kicked in, and I mean, there were trucks being seized, there were bank accounts that were being,
yeah, dude. I'm gonna, that to me, obviously this has nothing to do with the fucking disease. There's a guy's name I'm gonna put in the chat, and he's freaking, I'm kind of like following, I just I'm starting to follow this guy, which is at home. I just want to get his name correct because he's a Pakistani nationality, but he's from England. Where is he? Here he is. Yeah, Majid Nawaz. So I'm just putting him in the chat. So think about what you just said, and I'll talk about this guy in a minute. So there's a peaceful protest going on.
Yep.
Right? And then now it's like there's a peaceful protest. We're viewing you in the same light that we do a terrorist.
Yes.
So without any due process, we are seizing your assets in a private bank. Think about that for a moment. Holy crap.
Yeah.
And they were going to do this in England, with and other European countries that, I mean, since like England's like way ahead with coming out with the truth with this shit. They lifted everything like weeks ago. So to your point, this guy, Majid Nawaz, he was a Pakistani national. He and you could get him on. He's like I discovered him on Rogan's podcast. So grew up in '90s England as a Pakistani, and it's interesting because he makes a point about racism. He goes, we were getting chased regularly with hammers and machetes. Because we were just Muslim and Pakistani. So if you want to talk about racism, he goes, there you go. So he was radicalized and joined an organization from the age of 16 to 26 where they would recruit Muslim military officers and indoctrinate them into their Islamic jihadist way, but not using violence, not using terrorism, just using rhetoric. So he winds up going to Egypt, and he's doing this. And then when Sadat gets assassinated, he winds up in a Egyptian jail, and they're doing everything from like, he goes, they injected me with something. He goes, I don't know what it was. It was some type of inoculation. He goes, they were tortured on a regular basis, and incredible ordeal. But he goes, what started changing my mind, he goes, it was Amnesty International, heard his voice and fought for him. And even though they didn't agree with what he was saying, he goes, they agreed with my right to say it. So that started his thinking. And now he has, he's a, huge, supporter of freedom and democracy. And he's looking at this is, how, what this was. And this was basically a red herring or a dry run for control. So, I mean, if you look at what happened in Nazi Germany, and I never thought it would be able to happen in the US until now, because, you use things like anti-vaxxer, you use things like super spreader, use these like dehumanizing kind of weaponized categories for people where, and it's a slowly changing process. And it actually didn't take that long, because it took about a year. And it was called, they framed it as a phrase called benign evil. So, this is for your own good.
Yeah.
Right? Do this for your own good. And then you juxtapose that with, if you don't do this, you could kill me. Right? So now, if you're not wearing a mask, if you're not getting vaccinated, you could kill me. None of which is nearly close to the truth on any stretch of the imagination. So, and we didn't even consider, the allergic effects. No one gives a shit if somebody's allergic to this shit, which happens, and people have died.
Of course.
That's like saying, it's like, you know what? Yeah, okay, there's this population that's allergic to peanuts, but fuck it. You're going to have to eat peanuts, and we're putting peanuts in everything, and we're not even really thinking about the people who die from the peanut.
Yep.
Right? So, anyway, what's to say next time this comes around is, there's a food shortage, so we've got to limit food, right? There's the supply chain issue, so we can only limit what you buy. So there's apply it to anything. Anything. There's a potential of variety, so where now we went from, here, we were about to go from a free society to like a Checkpoint Charlie society without even an election or a referendum.
Yep.
The government was going to be like, okay, you need to have these papers. You need to have this, right? So, and none of this is making any sense anyway. You ask the question, it's like, okay, and I just want things to be consistent, and then, we'll stop, I don't know. I'd like to get your thoughts on this. It's like you are So we want you to get vaxxed, and we want you to have identification and wear that wherever you go. And you need to use that to travel and to go into large venues, right? But we don't want you to have voter identification.
Of course.
That's racist.
Yeah.
We want free and open borders, but we're not going to check any of them for COVID or check that they're vaccinated. See where I'm going with this?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, you're basically just controlling one group of people based on politics. And none of this is making sense, and nothing obviously is anything to do with science. You know, you watch the State of the Union address, and you know every other chair is empty, which is great. That's 24 inches. But then at the end, everybody's hugging each other.
Yep.
Right? We've got wrestling matches where kids have to wear masks when they warm up. Then they go out and wrestle, and they're on top of each other, spitting on each other,
yep,
doing everything else. But then at the end, they can't shake hands, and the ref can't raise their hand.
That's right. Yeah.
Right.
Everything is just ass backwards. It really is.
Right. But again, it's you know, it's about, you know, it's about control.
It is.
It's about, you know, being able, and it's leveraging fear to get, you know, what, you know, to impose your will. You know, I mean, we just, you know, there's a lot of people that are, you know, hip to this, and that's the reality of, you know, and more people are like, okay, you know, we had enough. And, you know, I think we're there. So now, yeah, as we said before, COVID's over. We got a war.
Yep.
You know, so anyway, so yeah, you found this ridiculous self-defense. All right. Someone's trying to drown you. Good.
I knew you'd love this one.
I mean, okay. All right, so I'm in my pool at home.
Yep.
And
your pissed off neighbor jumps in with you.
Yeah, and the local, you know, serial rapist killer is there. And if someone wants to drown you, I mean, they're going to be, how's he? He'll be holding her head underwater.
Yeah, see how fast you let go? Look at that. Gone.
I mean, he's going to be holding, he's going to be grabbing your hair, holding your head underwater, just trying to bash your face on the surface. Again, we're eliminating the, you know, ridiculous premise of you chilling at your house with somebody who gets in the pool, apparently doesn't make any noise.
Yep.
Right. So she's completely relaxed. Okay. Let's accept the premise of this. And this guy wants to kill her. Problem's not over.
No.
I mean, he's still
and then up. And as soon as she pops up, he's going to be right there, fucking punching her right in the face.
Yes. The problem is not over. This is the beginning of your nightmare. You know, this is not the end. It's not the end. Holy crap. But yeah, how much love did this thing get? 147,000 fucking likes. Who's liking these things? Say people that are I bet these people are, you know, still wearing their masks in their car by themselves.
That's exactly what it is.
You know, there's a lot of them out there. Like, holy crap, man. All right. Next one. So yeah, again, it's like I guess people just think about this shit constantly. And what if I'm attacked, you know, putting on my shoe?
Stop wearing thicker shoes.
Right. Right, exactly. Go to slip-ons. All right. So here's this is the granny carjacking with our favorite security officer. Deputy Dog. Detroit Rock City.
Yes, and if you haven't watched Granny, guys, start fucking watching Granny. Granny is badass.
I love it. Good shit, man. All right, here we go.
Give me your money, Granny. Detroit was no training. Intelligence officers increased my ability.
You're still a bitch,
Still a bitch.
Give me your money, bitch.
She's great.
Granted,
The sad
Sure,
thing
there's
is,
no
he
training.
believes that defense
So-
works.
Yeah, against Granny.
Yeah.
You know, the poor woman. I mean, it's cute. I get it. I know why they're just spoofing on it. But yeah, I mean, someone just gently handing over their weapon to you when you grab it. I mean, look, she's again, this is not real. This is just a way for him to just get clicks.
Yes.
But she's awesome. She is awesome. I can't even, yeah.
She's got her own little granny self-defense videos, which remind me of the old, first Home Alone.
Yeah, awesome. Awesome.
Lay a bunch of rakes out.
And this thing's got, it's got 820,000. I think it's funny, whatever. You're right. I love she's like, you're still a bitch. That's awesome. She's like, fucking 100 years old. Holy crap. As you notice, like, we're not gonna like cool on something that I think is just meant to be funny.
But she's calling him exactly what every one of us is thinking he is.
Right. I'm like, this freaking guy's all tacked up. Here he is again. We're just killing this dude. All right. So let me see. Hold on. Let me just pause it. All right. Volume. Good. All right. Share. Screen. All right. Here we go.
What? Took you down.
He said, if I see it. I was too slow. Yeah. Girls racing, mine's blazing. That's that Biggie. Yeah. All right. Show me your hand. At the same time, I think, right? Yeah, we both go. Okay.
Well, that solved your fucking problem there, didn't it?
Yeah. So again, first to his point, like we always say, like when you're doing this stuff and somebody's like, okay, you do it. I'm like, well, do it again. It's like, no, dude, it's only going to work once. So, I mean, look, no shit. And this is why, so basically, if you can't really see what's happening, the guy's like, trying to affect the guy on the left's trying to affect an arrest. The guy on the right is the perp, and he's got his hands in his pocket, and he's got his his guns everywhere. Yeah, and my buddy Tom writes out, yeah, this guy's everywhere. He's the new Master Ken. The problem with this guy is like, he's like Master Ken's just goofing on shit. This guy's like,
he believes it.
Serious about a lot of stupid shit. And that's the problem with everything we deal with in this world is that, broken clock is right twice a day. I mean, some of these guys, they'll come out with shit and you'll be like, okay, yeah, that's good. But then half of the rest of the stuff you're doing is crap and doesn't make any sense.
Yes.
It's not like the one thing that makes that good makes everything else good and makes him correct all the time. If I get one question right, that doesn't mean I'm getting the rest of the questions right.
Yep.
I got one question right. So you need to, always, inject reality over everything that you're looking at, and think about how plausible it is. And then, once you got an eye for it, you can separate it. And then you can actually take, okay, that's a good idea. And that's shit. Even though it's coming from the same guy, if it meets it meets the standard of the criteria, you'll be fine. Right. So, situation guys, like, you're assuming the guy's like a police officer on the left and this guy's the guy on the right's perp. He's got his hands in his pocket. I used to know guys that would carry weapons in their jacket pockets specifically for this reason. Right. So yeah, you just shoot through, you don't take it out. You just actually shoot through your pocket. And you're like the one dude who's cop, he's have an army jacket. And he's put a couple 38s in there in both the pockets and just walk with his hands in there. Fingers ready to go, weapon ready to go.
Yep.
Yeah, welcome to 80s Manhattan. So, or Manhattan now. Because, yeah. So, this guy, and this is why it's very important. And, people need to understand that, you're dealing with law enforcement, you show them your hands. And you're on the other side of that, you want to see their hands. Most part, I don't care what you're wearing, I don't care where you're looking. I want to see your fucking hands.
Yep.
period. Because this is, I mean, as goofy as, this comes off, it's real. And you're sitting there. The guy is like, and now you got intent, right? You've got the intent of the guy on the left is not to kill this guy, right? He's to arrest him. The other guy's intent is like, fuck it, I'm not going to jail.
Yeah.
So in reality, the cop is shot. Without a doubt. He's getting shot. And, this is why, things are tense. And this is why, cops do what they do sometimes. And the guys be like, well, he's unarmed. He just had his hands in his pockets. I cannot see his hands.
That's right.
I can't, if I can't see his hands, I'm assuming the worst because it happens all the time. We had a woman, police officer, a couple times over in Fairlawn a number of years ago. They were arresting a guy. And he was on his hands. He's lying on his stomach. I'm like, show your hands, show your hands, show your hands. And then he turned over and he shot her dead. So, yeah, this is why, guys, just show your hands. If you show your hands and you're dealing with law enforcement, here you go. Here you go. Don't mess around. They can see your hands. It's gonna make your life a lot easier and a lot safer. Yeah. But so we got time for one more. All right. So oh boy, here's this again. All right. So Krav Maga. Okay. I mean, I don't even know what. I guess. So, body pain points and joint blows. Joint blow. Anyone? Sorry.
That kick to the throat.
Yeah, let me see who's talking. Or just music. Yeah, no. Okay. I mean, there's no drive in any of these things. I mean, he's doing like, the 1-inch punch and that shit. But, again, very, this is flashy, is trashy. I mean, there's really no power behind stuff. Yeah, okay, but then you got like, you have an earbox mixed in, right? Mm-hmm. He doesn't, I mean, okay, but none of these kicks, are really don't have any power to do what they do. And these are just like, yeah, it really, when you're looking at the power of somebody's attacks, you got to look at their forward drive and their body momentum.
Yes.
Right. So if you're standing there just flicking somebody, that's relaxed, you'll get these reactions. But if somebody's amped up and in your face, I mean, you can maybe start with something that's a flick, right? And then you got to follow something real and then repeatedly make it bigger and harder. And, as you go on and take bigger chunks of that person. But like sitting there flicking somebody and watching them fall off like that, like that knee thing, good luck with that. I mean, that's not going to do anything to anybody. Okay, yeah, sure, you elbow somebody in the chin, but you got to drive through it. I mean, that pat to the solar plexus, I mean, all that stuff, I'm like, don't bother. Especially somebody's wearing a coat. Okay, so how do untrained people know who's showing junk and who's good? Answer, Dave, get trained, brother.
Yes.
That's it. It's like, how do you ask a doctor, You know, how do you diagnose somebody who's sick if you haven't been to med school? You can't. You can't. You know, and so that's why. And again, that's just part of your education. You know, it's like you can watch like some regular person can watch a football game and just see a football game, but then watch it with Bill Belichick. It's a whole different fucking thing.
And I think too, just to kind of jump in, I mean, the more flashy it looks, the more choreographed it looks, just stay the fuck away from it.
Yeah, it's demo stuff.
Yeah.
But again, who wouldn't want to be able to do this? Right?
Yep.
That's
the problem.
Yeah, because you believe in it and you want it to be real. So why, who wouldn't want to be able to do that? But the fact is, no one can do that. It's not real. It just looks cool.
Yeah.
And it's like a big confidence game. It gives you a sense of power. Shit. I didn't even get into the other stuff I was going to get into. I'll do that next time. But I wanted to talk about, and this gets into, actually, this does kind of feed into it. I don't know. Have you ever, seen the Netflix specials that are recently on, Inventing Anna and the Twitter Swindler?
I saw the Twitter Swindler.
Okay, so basically, you're looking at confidence people, and these people are really smart and really skilled at making you believe what you want to believe and what you want to hear. I found Anna particularly interesting because of how she came out of nowhere at a very young age and actually got in the room with some very powerful people, very rich people, and how she trained herself to be able to know, what's right and what's not. So you got to appreciate that from, a standpoint where, look, I mean, obviously, like, she didn't get any of her funding from the banks without actually having the money she said she did. And she couldn't verify it in a real bank because they were going to actually send somebody over there to meet with her contact who she made up and meet, go to the bank and verify that the money was there physically. But, you look at these people and, people will always say, when you're stepping back, oh, I'll never do that. Oh, you're not getting me, you're not getting me with that shit. I'm saying bullshit.
Yes.
If they're telling you something that you remotely want, you so want to believe. And you get, and she had she was living in hotels. She was dressed a certain way, always tip top. She wound up, she had her story about her trust fund that kept getting held up and her father being, a jerk off and all the other stuff. And so she was getting her money from this other guy who was inventing an app that didn't work or do shit, but it managed to continue to fund money, who's basically playing the same bullshit game she was. So if somebody tells you what you want, what you want to hear, and it's something you truly believe in, just take a step, take a breath, and, try to reflect if this makes sense to you. Right. And you have to put a limit on what you're and what you're going to invest and what you're going to put into it as far as time, money, whatever, energy. So, there are people out there and, again, like we just look at our, the martial arts shit that we just saw, there are people out there that, present something that's appealing to you because, it looks cool. It gives you that huge sense of empowerment and confidence. And then put that in a room with, other people who believe. And then it's like you're just getting like your echo chamber on social media. It's like you're all believing you're all bullshit and repeating the same stuff back and forth. Like I always say, that's why I always enjoyed in judo when a white belt would walk in.
Yeah.
Right? Because now there's going to come a point where I'm going to have to be like able to use my skills on somebody who's not bought into any of this shit. They see the belt and that's enough to be like, okay, well, this guy's a black belt. He's probably pretty good. So, maybe I go at him hard. Maybe I let him beat me. There's a lot of that going on. But, for the most part, once it's like, hey, man, just go. and then if they start making mistakes, then you coach them. But, when they're really coming at you, you want to move them, you want to throw them, you want to choke them, you want to pin them. I'm like, hey, dude, it's got to be real, as opposed to lining up and then against, your partner, pulling your techniques, not hitting them, not driving. And this is my other issue with training partners when it comes to combatives. Of course, everybody, people that are into us know this. You got to be able to really hit, drive, put power in. That's the only way to do it. And pulling your punches against your partner is not going to do it. Having your partner be like, oh yeah, that would work. Ain't going to do it. It's not going to do it. I mean, your only, alternative to that is to dress them up in like a red man suit and fucking go at them and have them go at you, so at least, you can, feel that force, pain, discomfort, and all that stuff. So at least when you're really hitting something, or hitting yourself with something, you get that discomfort and, get something real going rather than, that, make believe hocus pocus, rinky dinky crap.
That's right.
So that's it, man. So again, you got nothing going on this weekend. You're laying low, going to the pub.
Gonna go to the pub and then spend some family time, man.
Yeah. So good, man. Good. I'll probably continue my birthday celebration.
There you go.
As we continue to, move about the world. And next week, looking forward to my kid going to school with no mask. And that's it. So everybody, until next time, on behalf of George and myself, it's the Killer Be Killed podcast. As always, train honestly.